Today we'll be talking about goalball. We will be discussing everything from the history, to the rules, to ways to include this into a general PE curriculum. Goalball was originated in 1946 by Austrian Hans Lorenzen and German Seth Rindl. It was developed to keep blind World War II veterans physically active after war. It is now known as the most popular team sport for blind and visually impaired athletes. It is played in over 100 countries around the world, 112 countries to be exact. It was first introduced to the Paralympics as a demonstration event in Toronto, 1976. It was then added as a medal sport 4 years later in Armagh. No team has ever won the goalball event more than 2 times in the Paralympics. It shows the strength of the sport across the world.
The equipment needed for goalball is, one, the goalball itself. It's roughly the size of a basketball, and it has bells inside. If you can't get the goalball, you can get a ball and put either bells inside or a device that emits sound. The goalball itself can be bought at USABA or Goalfix Sports. The next piece of equipment we need is the eye shades, which can also be bought at USABA or Goalfix Sports. If we can't get the eye shades themselves from those companies, you can also get a ski mask and then just tape around the outside edges to make sure that no light is emitted inside. Our next piece of equipment is elbow pads and knee pads. While these are not required, they're highly suggested because they will keep you safe and protect your knees and joints. Then we also have rope and tape. These are used to outline the goalball court so that the students will be able to feel where they are on the court. I will show this later in the video how to lay these down properly. And the last thing, which is not pictured here today, is the goalball net itself. It is not needed to play goalball, but in professional leagues, it is required to have the goalball net. As I mentioned previously, we're going to need tape and rope to outline the court. The tape should be a different color than the court to contrast so the teacher or ref will be able to see it. You want to have your rope lined up right in the middle of the line, and you're going to start from the corner. Simply just lay the tape over your rope, stretch it out, then pat it down nice and flat because you want your end product to look with the rope raised so the student will be able to feel it.
A goalball court is 18 meters long and 9 meters wide, which is the same exact length of a volleyball court. It is divided by a center line, and then each half is divided into 3 sections, each section being 3 meters wide. The first 3-meter section is known as the orientation area. This is where the players are located. The players will roll and block from this area. It is indicated by the blue box. The next area is the landing area. This is where the ball must land prior to scoring once a player has rolled the ball. It is indicated by the red box. The last area is known as the neutral area. This is the area closest to the center line, which no team will enter. It is indicated by the yellow box.
The rules of goalball are controlled by the International Blind Sports Federation. The game is played with 2 teams of 3 players and 3 substitutes. Each team is required to stay on their own half of the court the whole game. The game consists of 2 12-minute halves and 1 3-minute halftime. Eye shades must be worn the entire time when a player is on the court. When the game is set to begin, the referee must start by placing the ball in front of a player and say the word play. At this point, everyone in the arena should be quiet to allow the players to hear the ball. After any official stoppage, play must be called to restart. After receiving the ball, a team has 10 seconds to throw the ball back to the other side of the court, otherwise it is a penalty. When throwing the ball, it must be rolled on the floor. If a person with the ball does not want to throw, their teammate may throw. However, if they give their ball to their teammate must throw the ball back to the other side within that 10-second window. When defending, every player must stay in their team area. If any part of the person's body is touching outside the court, it would be illegal defense, which is a penalty. A few different penalties would result in a loss of possession in goalball. One example is a premature throw. If a player were to roll the ball before the referee says play, the other team would get the ball. Similarly, if a defending player stops the ball, it bounces off of them and goes back to the other side of the court, the other team would get the ball. Also, if a player is passing their ball to a teammate and the pass is missed and it goes out the sidelines, it's called a pass out, and it would change possession. When rolling the ball must touch the floor before the overthrow line, or it's considered to be a high ball. If the ball touches on the other side of the high ball line first, then the other team gets the ball. The entire game is played, and at the end, whichever team has the most goals wins. If there is a tie at the end of the second half, there will be an overtime. Overtime is an additional 2 3-minute halves with a 3-minute break in between. The first team to score a goal wins.
So one of the skills that we use in goalball is throwing the ball. Throwing would be very similar to bowling. So you're going to hold the ball with your dominant hand. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to place the ball in my right hand. So my hand is on the bottom with my fingers spread. My other hand is going to steady the ball, either setting it on top of the ball or on the side of the ball. So once your ball is steadied in your hand, you're going to step forward with your opposite leg. So since the ball is in my right hand, I'm going to be stepping forward with my left foot. If you had the ball in your left hand, you would step forward with your right foot. When you bring the ball back, you want to bring the ball back as far as possible without dropping it. So once you get to a comfortable position, then you're going to instantly go and you're going to release the ball right out in front of you. And once you release the ball, you're going to follow through up to your opposite shoulder. So putting that all together, you're going to put the ball in your dominant hand, steady it, step forward, bring the ball back, and roll and release. All together, full speed, it will look like this.
Another skill that we want to teach in goalball is blocking. Blocking is used to prevent the other team from scoring. We want to teach the skill properly because if the students do not block properly, they can have the risk of getting injured. The first step in blocking is to have the player lay down on one side. Once the player is laid down on one side, they want to extend out as much as possible. They then want to tilt slightly forward towards their stomach, ever so slightly. And the reason that we do that is if we tilt slightly backwards, go ahead, you're going to create a ramp for the ball to just roll up and over. So that slight tilt forward will stop the ball. Once we tilt forward, we then want to raise our leg just high enough that it will stop the ball, not too high though, so the ball doesn't go through. And that leg will bring slightly forward as well, so we don't create that ramp effect. And then lastly, our most important part is our arms. We want to bring them and extend them in front of our face so that when we are trying to block the ball does not hit the player in the face.
When it comes to PE, there are 3 ways to create inclusion in a general physical education program. The first is by bringing in a goalball athlete. The athlete can come into the class, talk, and show the students how to play. A second way is to create a Paralympic sport unit. Just like our basketball and volleyball units, you can create a whole unit centered around Paralympic sports. The third is learning through after-school programs. You can have an after-school program that focuses on disability sports and Paralympic sports.
One role model in the sport of goalball is Tyler Marin. He's from Fort Wayne, Indiana. He has a B2 classification. He went to Western Michigan University, majored in exercise science, and graduated in 2011. He has been to the Paralympics 4 times, and he medaled twice. So he went to the 2004, 2008, 2016, and 2020 Paralympics. He received the bronze medal in Athens 2004, and he received a silver medal in Rio 2016. Tyler was introduced to goalball in 1999 at a sports education camp hosted by the U.S. Association of Blind Athletes, which was held at Western Michigan University. He was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa as a teenager, so his eyesight has been deteriorating his whole life. Both Tyler and his wife play goalball on a recreational team in Florida. They have 4 children together, one of which, who is Mason, is sighted, and he coaches both of his parents. He now works as a personal trainer and motivational speaker, and he is the founder of Revision Training LLC in Florida.
Our second role model is Mary Bai Hu King. She was born in Yingtang, China, and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah. Her classification is B2. Mary Bai is a 2-time Paralympian, competing in Rio 2016 and Tokyo 2020. She is both a silver and bronze medalist. Mary Bai was adopted from China when she was 2 years old. She was born with albinism and classified as legally blind. She began competing in figure skating before she began playing goalball. She was first introduced to goalball in 2010 through the Utah Foundation for Blind and Visual Impairment. Mary Bai is the youngest and shortest member of the 2016 U.S. Women's National Goalball Team.